7 o'clock. Okay, very good. Do we have any alternates here? John?
I'm an alternate, yeah.
So you could fill in for Mary Royko?
Sure.
Here.
Okay.
Mary's here.
Oh,
Yeah, I just
Here?
joined.
okay, don't need to, I guess.
All right.
I
Hi,
think
John, you can.
he could fill in for Tom.
Tom, yeah, that would be better because Mary might
right.
show up a little bit later. Right. Okay, are there any additions or changes to the agenda?
No.
Okay, fine. So do we have any communication or correspondence?
Nope, not at this time.
Not at this time. Okay, so I'll go into the next item on the agenda, and that is audience of citizens. Do we have any audience of citizens tonight? Do I hear any out there that want to say something?
I don't see any.
Okay, very good. Then we'll go on to new business. First of all, is the ratification and confirmation of the commission's appointment of Isabel Kisluck as wetlands agent. So we need a motion, and I'll read what we want to do here, okay? Pursuant to section 12 and 14 of the Columbia Wetlands Regulations, the commission does hereby ratify and confirm its appointment of Isabel Kisluck as the wetland agent for the town of Columbia, and its delegation of the authority to issue administrative approvals and enforcements as necessary, which appointment and delegations were effective as of 2/22/22. So does somebody want to make that motion?
I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, very good. And do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay.
Happy to
all in
second. Aye.
favor? Hi, all right, very good. So all in favor, raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay,
You can't see.
unanimous.
Thankfully.
Welcome, Isabel.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
congratulations, Isabel.
Hey.
Sorry about the
Clap
confusion
your
on
hands.
that. Thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is item 6.2, IWWC 2122, the application of Mark Walter, Columbia Town Administrator, to replace the bridge number 0446 Hop River Road over the Hop River. So we will, is there anybody here that can, Isabel, you want to give us a quick briefing on that? Or you said you had a couple
Sure.
of people that might want to talk about it?
So I know we have a couple of people from Close, Jensen and Miller who are working on the project to give an overview of it. I have previously went to the site. I had a meeting with Coventry, their wetlands agent and engineer, and our fire chiefs for Columbia and Coventry. They're installing a dry hydrant as well as part of the project, and they're rebuilding the bridge so that it's a 2-lane rather than a 1-lane. I know that they've found some scouring and structural deficiencies in the current bridge, so this is something that'll really improve the area and make it a little bit safer. So I'll hand it over to Greg or Dan, whoever would like to speak.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Dan Carnine from Close, Jensen and Miller. We did put together like a real quick brief presentation that'll give a quick overview of the project if I'm able to share my screen.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great.
Terrific.
All right. Okay. So, like I said, I'm the liaison project engineer for this project, project number 32150 Hop River Road over Hop River. This is a federal local bridge program project that was initiated by the towns of Coventry and Columbia. And we're here tonight submitting the application on the town's behalf. The main reason for the project is that the existing bridge is functionally inadequate. There's substandard roadway width since it's a single lane bridge currently. And there's also substandard horizontal curve on the southern approach. This project is located about 0.3 miles north of Route 6, directly on the Coventry-Columbia town line. Looking at an aerial view, this view shows Coventry to the north and Columbia to the south. And on that south side, you can see that there is the Hop River Dam mill race that branches off the main channel of the Hop River upstream from the bridge and continues under Hop River Road. And you can also see the substandard horizontal curve on that Columbia approach that will be improved as part of the project. To give you a better idea of what the site is like, we have a couple pictures. This is upstream elevation of the bridge, kind of looking downstream. And this is the downstream elevation looking back upstream. Looking upstream just beyond the bridge, you can see that there is the Hop River Dam just upstream from the bridge, and that dam will not be impacted as part of this project. So I also mentioned that the mill race on the Columbia side. This is a view looking upstream, the mill race towards the head gate, and just beyond the head gate is where it branches off the main channel of the Hop River. This mill race then continues to flow downstream under Hop River Road, and it flows through this existing culvert, which you can see here, which is a twin cell corrugated metal pipe culvert. So the main purpose of the project is the bridge replacement. The existing bridge will be replaced with the new 2-lane structure. So we will be widening the roadway on the bridge and on the associated approaches. So the bridge will have a little bit larger footprint than existing. And also incidental to the main channel bridge replacement, that mill race culvert will also be replaced as part of this project with the single cell precast culvert. So as a result of the bridge replacement and the culvert replacement, there will be watercourse and wetland impacts associated with the project, which is why we are submitting the application tonight. These impacts are mainly due to the culvert replacement for the mill race, and then along with the bridge approach improvements with the roadway widening, and then the improvements for the substandard curve. All impacts on the Columbia side of the project have been quantified here, including the Columbia Wetlands of Special Concern impacts and the 60 square feet of impacts to the surveyed state federal wetlands. And then just to give you idea of the other permits being submitted for this project, a Coventry inland wetland permit application has been submitted and accepted. And then a public hearing is scheduled for April 27th for the Coventry permit. As part of that, abutters, including the abutters in Columbia, will be notified of that hearing. And then in addition to the local level permits, we will also be submitting a flood management certification for municipal projects to the state, along with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers General Permit 19. So that was just our brief presentation to give you an overview of the project. Myself and Greg Garish from our office are here to answer any questions you might have tonight. I'm sure as you have a chance to review the application, any questions that come up, we can answer them at a later date or whenever we meet next. So thank you.
So are there any questions that anybody on the commission would like to ask? I've got one. It looked like that there were some small wetlands areas on both sides of the bridge, some in Columbia and some in Coventry. Were these due to mainly flooding problems? Or are these have been there for a long period of time?
So I'm unsure of the the origins of the wetlands. But here, as far as here, I have just the Columbia side tonight. For this presentation, we only included information on the Columbia side of the project, but the wetlands on this side, on this approach, are mainly upstream from that mill race culvert. There are no wetlands downstream from the culvert. So I'm assuming that it's related to some sort of backup or flooding related with that culvert in that area there.
Okay.
John, I'm very familiar with the area. I go down there and I bike and I run. On the right-hand side, where the mill race is, there would be no impact. There's a huge stone wall there, as a matter of fact. On the left-hand side, it's a low-lying area. It's kind of like a floodplain, and it floods on a regular basis.
Mhm.
So on the Coventry side, and there's brush and things like that that's grown up around there, and that's downstream. Upstream, not so much.
Okay, good. Anybody else
Hey,
have any questions?
Hey,
Yes.
this is Mary, quick question. Dan, you said you already have Coventry permit approval. Is that accurate?
No, we submitted the permit and it was accepted. We have not received the, I guess.
Oh, okay.
approval yet.
So this is not a sequential thing. You're just doing it both for Coventry and Columbia around the same time.
Yes.
Okay. Curious, any feedback from Coventry yet? Or you'll probably be post at the public meeting?
Yeah, we'll probably get most of the feedback at that next meeting on April 27th.
And one final question. This sounds like a need versus nice, because you're saying structural damage, safety issues. Is that
Yes.
correct?
The main concern is safety, as far as improving that substandard curve on that the southern approach and kind of soften that to make it a safer condition, and then again making the bridge wide enough for two vehicles.
Two,
at the same
yeah,
time.
versus one. Great, thank you.
Hey, this is Greg Garrish with CGM. Just want to step in and Mary say that some feedback we did receive was that it was not considered a significant impact to Coventry.
To date, thank you.
John? John?
Yes.
Yeah, Tip Garrett, I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
The flood aspect will be reviewed by a state agency, and I assume that's going to be the Department of Energy and Environment. Is that correct?
So this project is handled through the Fed local program at the DOT, and there's a memorandum of understanding between DOT and DEEP that allows DOT to review these floodway impacts and the flood management certification applications. Greg, you can add anything if I'm missing anything.
You pretty much said it. The flood management certification is approved on the state level by the DOT Office of Environmental Planning rather than the DEEP, because of that memorandum of understanding between the DOT for the federal contract.
Cool, good to know.
And there will be an Army Corps permit at the federal level, and DEEP does get the what's it called, the state reporting form gets sent in just so that they are notified of the project with the impacts, which was included in the permit package.
I have an additional question about it appears as though the historical aspect of the mill that was there and the reservoir for the tail race, it looks like there's been an attempt to make sure that remains and is not affected significantly by this work?
That is correct. So on the screen here, that bottom image is the elevation view.
Correct.
And we really tried to eliminate, or limit the removal of the existing walls and stone masonry out there. And in addition, so we will be maintaining the base of the existing pier along with the lower portions of the existing masonry abutments.
Okay, and then that original wall that extends between the raceway and the Hop River on the Columbia side, that won't be altered at all either.
It'll be
The rock-
it'll be slightly modified. There will be some portions that would need to be removed for the wider bridge. But
Yeah.
again, those removal limits have been limited, and those impacts have been deemed no adverse effect for the historic property of the site.
Okay, I've got one more question that I see from the very interesting. I see from the elevation view on the Columbia side of the bridge, and it's called a wildlife shelf. And that's, I gather, to allow passage of animals such as raccoons, mink, and otter, beaver, and so forth.
That side is actually, I don't know if it's maybe how the screen is being projected or on the screen share, but that wildlife shelf is actually on the Coventry side.
Yeah, it's on the Coventry side. I'm sorry if I.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the intent, is to allow, create a critter shelf for all the critters to go through and stay off the road.
Fantastic.
Yep, good.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody have any more questions?
Just a quick question about deficiencies on the bridge. What are the structural issues on the existing bridge, just out of curiosity?
Okay, so again, the main reason for the project is safety concerns, but there are some additional structural deficiencies that on their own wouldn't necessarily warrant a total bridge replacement, but there are some substandard elements and that, based on bridge inspections, there are some elements on the bridge that are in poor condition, specifically the bearings out here. So those structural deficiencies, in addition to the safety improvements, warrant the bridge replacement project. So yeah, as far as structural deficiencies, the main one is the existing bearings on the bridge are just heavily corroded and rusted right now.
Yeah. Okay. Have people complained about it just being a one-lane bridge, or have you gotten any feedback on that?
We haven't gotten any complaints. This project was presented at a public information meeting.
Gotcha.
And
Yeah, I know it's kind of like out of the wetlands,
Right.
area of concern, I guess, but just out of curiosity.
Yeah, no, we haven't heard anything, I guess, from the public about our complaints about the single lane versus 2 lanes. As far as feedback, though, we have, that we have been hearing from the towns is that, the 2 lane is more desirable gives a little bit more room. I know, there's a lot of traffic out here, as far as cars and pedestrians trying to access the things nearby, like the Hop River Trail, and I guess there's fishing areas nearby, and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah. The good thing about having a one-lane bridge, though, is it forces people to slow down. So, any traffic coming, anything that can be used to calm the traffic a little bit is, I think beneficial, but, again, it's not really wetlands concern. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, if not, I was wondering whether we should have a site walk to go down and take a look at the bridge area.
I think, yeah, that definitely would be beneficial for everyone to just see it and get some familiarity with it.
Okay,
I certainly agree with that.
okay, why don't we set one up for Saturday morning? How about the 16th?
Sounds good.
Okay,
Perfect.
Not a-
9
That's
AM
fine.
on the 16th. Can everybody make it?
No, I'm not available. I will be in Florida. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Oh,
But
you-
obviously, if we have a quorum, have at it.
Okay,
John, just because that's Easter weekend, I'll do my best to be there. I'm just not quite sure. At this
okay,
point.
wonderful.
I cannot,
Okay.
I cannot make it.
Would a different day be better, like the
Good
9th?
point.
No,
Would the 9th be better or not for Mary?
the 23rd.
I say just given daylight are people available after or a weekday?
After what? Oh, that's right. Is that Easter weekend?
Yeah,
The
Yeah.
16th, 17th is
Yeah,
Easter
yeah.
weekend.
16th and 17th is Easter weekend.
Oh, okay. I can't make it on the 23rd. I've got a meeting in the morning and part
I'm
of the
still out of
afternoon.
town.
30th would probably, well, we could do it. What about the 9th?
Mm,
Oh.
That's not good for me.
Okay, then what about the 30th?
Can make it work.
can make it.
Everybody make it on the 30th?
Let's see. Today.
Yeah, I know. God willing, I can make it.
Okay, well, let's set it up for the 30th at 9 AM, okay?
IWWC. Come on.
Okay, very good. So we'll all be there on the 30th, hopefully.
9 o'clock.
John,
9 o'clock, yeah.
John, do we have to formally accept it,
Uh,
the application?
oh, yeah, I think we shall do that. Do I hear a motion to accept the application?
Motion to accept.
Okay, second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Thank you.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is a discussion of the LMAC flowcharts.
So I can screen share. I have a couple available that Mary sent me. And
Okay,
Mary
And
and I
they-
have been
These
discussing.
these are drafts, Isabel, to
Yes.
date. Yeah.
Their drafts, I think they were originally drafted late February, I believe.
Where are we? It's actually last fall was the
Oh, okay.
initial discussion we had with Mark Walter. And just to give background, as Isabel draws this up, give or take, around our lake, we have 280 plus properties, and at any time from the end of the fall, when the drawdown happens, until March 15th, there's applications for construction and or maintenance on the lake. And to date, we've had some feedback from our customers that they don't understand the process, they don't understand who applies to what, and or they understand, but it seems to be a little convoluted or complicated, that you do this with LMAC and you do this with wetlands, and by the time you get the application, if they put it in late, especially, there's no time to get the work done that particular season. So Mark Walter asked LMAC, and I guess I took it on as a subcommittee project to try to coordinate with wetlands, since I and Steve Harrington are on both, an approach where we can kind of slim it down, be customer focused, and both of us accomplish what we need to do in terms of our applications and approvals. Isabel, it's all yours.
Sure. So we have two working flowcharts right now. The first thing that I do want to say is that before we were operating under the understanding that BOS had to approve applications before wetlands could, because the town technically owns the lake. I guess in discussions with our town attorney, Mark Walter found that that's not the case. So wetlands and BOS can be applied to and approve one before the other. BOS doesn't need to sign off on something before the Wetlands Commission does. And vice versa. It's just that both permits are needed before work on the lake can begin. So we have 2 flow charts right now, one for beginning work and one for inspections. Like Mary said, these are a draft, and I've given her some comments, and this is something that, you know, has been ongoing and probably will be ongoing for a little while, but just wanted to get input from everybody. So we currently have applications being submitted both to BOS and wetlands. For BOS, it will then go to LMAC for review. And for wetlands, it'll go through our process. We would like the Wetlands Commission and LMAC to review the applications and potentially conduct a joint site walk, or what I think might be easiest at this stage is LMAC conducting their site walk and inviting everyone on the Wetlands Commission, and vice versa. If we get an application in first and a site walk is set at a meeting, I think it would be prudent to invite any LMAC members as well, so that we have a greater chance for everyone to get out to the site and view it, because that's certainly been an issue, especially once LMAC got rid of their subcommittee for reviewing work on the lake. It made it a little bit difficult for people to get the review done, and I think having that additional site walk would be beneficial for getting that through. And then from there, I think for wetlands, our approval process would be essentially unchanged, be very similar to what it is. It's just a matter of, we don't have to worry about BOS approving applications before we do. And that was, I think, the main holdup from the wetlands side of the approval process. Let's see.
Yeah.
So we have, if an exception exists and further revisions are needed, the application will be on the next agendas and will continue, which is the process that we currently go through. And then what I'd like to see here is that when BOS and wetlands approve the application, maybe we can have a third letter that's sent out just to make sure that BOS isn't dependent on wetlands and vice versa, because I think that that would kind of streamline the process. And maybe we could have a staff member, I would be willing to do it, just coordinate both approvals.
Yeah.
And then,
Isabel, before you scroll up, I guess one thing to note is, on this larger red box on the single line, it says, if both LMAC and IWC with wetlands agent recommends approval, like our board approves applications. We don't recommend, unless I'm mistaken, we don't recommend to the BOS to approve or deny it.
yes, no, you're correct. And that's right now, I think the revision that we're going through is that I'd like to see it more that BOS approves and wetlands approves, and then again, a staff member, which for someone from the town, I would be willing to do that, coordinates both of those approvals and sends out a final letter. Functionally, it would be really similar to what we do in the building and land use department. Currently, we have a number of different approvals that are needed for an application between wetlands and zoning and building. And once all of those approvals are given, the permit is granted. So I think that's similar to what we need to do, rather than making the BOS approval dependent on wet.
Yeah, and I guess my only question is was the process we were following, was that potentially, and I guess I'm looking maybe at Tip and John, because you guys have been on the commission longer, but was the rationale behind that they didn't want the inland wetlands potentially approving something that meets the statute that we technically couldn't not approve, and then the BOS saying, we don't want that to happen because it's in our lake, we're the landowner. And then you have this juxtaposition of BOS approving something and inland wetlands or inland wetlands approving something, but BOS not approving something.
Well,
Because, I mean,
maybe I can answer that a little bit. DEP, of course, is runs the show statewide on inland wetlands. And first of all, has this been sent to DEP Wetlands Department for review?
The
For their
flow
comments and
charts
so
haven't, their flow charts haven't been set yet, I think, because we're still kind of going through the process of figuring it out. At
Okay,
this
so-
point, we have spoken to the town's attorney, and it was on his council. Essentially, they determined that wetlands can approve before BOS, but I think that that's a valid concern, that maybe that should be double checked with the state.
Yeah, it's early in the game, yeah, but DEP has to review any changes to the regulations. I mean, the wetland regulations as laid down by state statute. And that's the way we followed it in the past.
Tip, that may be different than from LMAC. LMAC can only advise. We are an advisory committee. The Board of Selectmen approve or not. Typically,
Yeah,
at least in my
yes.
5 years, 95% LMAC approves a recommendation or advice from LMAC. But we've had our 5% too, where they've sent it back and asked us to reconsider, and or the customer, obviously, to reconsider. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and we've always held pretty strongly with the LMAC's thinking and recommendations. So,
Here.
yeah, it works out. Yeah, it works out for the good of the lake and the town, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, I think it helps a lot if we work together and each commission has their say, and everything would be well coordinated, I think.
I think the main thing that we can change about the approval process is really just that I think it would really be beneficial to invite LMAC, for example, members to our site walk and vice versa.
Exactly.
Just to
Yeah.
give everyone a better chance of seeing things. And
Mhm.
then just not having to wait on BOS. So I think more than changing our review process, I think just better coordination between the different agencies reviewing each application is what we're looking or aiming to get here.
Isabel, one
just
other,
to-
go ahead, Mary.
Go ahead. Well,
ahead.
just to build on what Isabel said, I think that I lost my train of thought, of course. No. I think the key word that Isabel used was streamline. This came from a series of discussions / complaints to several, Columbia Lake Association, LMAC, Mark Walter, that could you put something in writing, and could you streamline this so the customers know what the heck's going on? So that was my thought
Sure.
process.
Sure.
Sorry, Ian.
That's good. I guess my question is like, if somebody comes in from the lake and they ask, like, hey, I want to do this, what is the timeline that we give them, like a typical timeline? Because I mean, I know in my position in my professional life, when somebody comes in or when we're meeting with Deep, that's our first question is, what's the timeline? And we're given a schedule of 6 months to a year. Are we giving them realistic timetables of what it truly does take? And like, I guess my question is
Yeah.
does people's expectations not align with the process? And is that an education thing, or is it?
Yeah.
I think it's a little of both. So I think that the benefit to
Good point.
having these flow charts and settling on something is just so that people can see the process before they begin it. I don't think people up to this point have realized how long it can take, because it can take 3 months or more. I mean, wetlands
Yeah.
easily on its own can be 2 months, depending on when you submit your application. And again, when we were waiting for BOS, that did complicate things. And I know that there were a few lake walls this year that it was particularly difficult for, because LMAC had to change the way that they were reviewing the lake wall projects. They went from a subcommittee to a full commission review, and that extended their process, which delayed BOS, which then delayed us. So what we're trying to do now is make it more well-known that when you want to begin a project on the lake, it could take up to 3 months for the review process, depending on the state of your application and making sure that everything is in place. And then additionally, just we want to make sure that everyone knows you need both BOS and LMAC. We've also had, or BOS and wetlands, I'm sorry. We've also had a couple of applications that I'm aware of recently that BOS received an application that was then sent to LMAC, but wetlands never received an application until we found out about it later. So it's largely an education thing and making sure that it's clear to people who live on the lake that they need to submit an application to both wetlands and BOS.
Because I was gonna say on this flow chart, that I almost wonder if that's a good addition. If you say, week 1, the clock starts, this next step is expected 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out, that kind of thing. So, and I don't know if you want to say, first meeting, first weekend of the month or whatever to that detail, but if you give a timetable, that sometimes helps people understand that process a little bit better.
Yeah, I think
Good
that's a good
point.
question.
Yeah, we'll take that into the redraft of the draft.
And let's see, and we have another flow chart here as well regarding approval and inspections. So one thing, just to start off, that I think we're working on changing is that we want to make it clear that they need both a BOS approval and a wetlands approval, rather than LMAC and BOS, or LMAC and wetlands, because BOS and wetlands are the 2 permitting agencies. So we want that to be clear. So I think this top section here will change a little bit. And then we have that the LMAC and the wetlands agent will provide approval letters. And like I said, I'd like to add a 3rd final letter that says you're good to go. And then we will coordinate inspection visits. So I think that would be beneficial if we came up with a schedule for start of construction, mid-construction, end of construction, that kind of thing. Coordinate approvals, coordinate inspections as the project goes through the process of construction. Right now, I go out once a week, at least, depending on how much rain we're getting, but I think it would be beneficial to have LMAC going out and have people know when we're going out, and have that be more publicly available.
I would say, I think this is great. One other thing that I would also consider putting on here that I've been seeing on a lot of DEE permits is right at the top. It's bolded out as timetable is contingent upon a fully complete permit. Because I think a lot of people think they click submit on a half complete permit and the clock starts. It really starts when it's a complete permit.
Good point.
I mean, that's
a good point.
I mean, I think this is great. I think it would be a good step. And I also, as far as the inspections go, I also, I wouldn't undervalue a surprise inspection by an inland wetlands agent.
Yeah.
Contractors, if they know what's going on, they're going to make sure it's right when you show up, kind of thing.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I just think it's good for people to have a better understanding, and I think that can be included in the flow chart.
Agreed.
And I think that's all we have. Mary, do you have any final comments, or does anyone have questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for the feedback to date.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Mary. Next thing on the agenda, let's see, under old business, IWWC 2122-27, the application of John Marshall to construct a boardwalk over wetlands to access owner's land at 265 Route 87, Assessors Map 017, lot number 002 in the RA zone. So, Isabel, could you bring us up to date on that?
So we did have a site walk on the 19th of March that I was
Right.
not able to attend. It's a little bit late. And since then, I have spoken to John Marshall to catch up with him and see if he had any additional information. He did say that he intended to keep the boardwalk under 30 inches. He's really only concerned about keeping it high enough for vegetation to grow under it. The boardwalk will be 130 feet approximately in length through the wetlands. And he didn't have any real additional information to share or any new considerations beyond what was discussed at the site walk.
Anybody have any questions on it? Do we have a summary ruling on that, Isabel?
I do.
Okay.
Mary, did you have a question? I thought I saw your hand up.
Oh, no, thank you.
Let's see.
Ooh, I like that.
So this is for application 2122-27 for John Marshall to build a boardwalk approximately 130 feet in length through the wetlands. I'm going to skip through 1 through 6. These are standard conditions. Additional sediment and erosion control measures will be installed during the construction period if necessary or required. I will say I intend to keep a close eye on the project, but having reviewed his construction plan, I think having him put silt fence in the wetlands would be a greater disturbance to the wetlands themselves than anything else. I know what he's planning to do is pretty minimal. No vegetation will be removed from the wetlands beyond what is absolutely necessary for the construction and use of the boardwalk. No heavy machinery will be used, and no mature trees greater than 15 inches in diameter will be removed from the wetlands for construction of the boardwalk. John Marshall is assigned the responsibility for implementing the sediment and erosion control plan. The responsibility includes installation and maintenance of control measures, informing all parties engaged on the construction site of the requirements and objectives of the plan, notifying the Inland Wetlands Commission office of any transfer of this responsibility, and conveying a copy of the plan if the title of the land is transferred. If anyone has any additional considerations as far as conditions of approval go, you're more than welcome to share them, and I can always add them to this.
Okay. If not, do I hear a motion to accept the summary ruling, which was just read by Isabel? Somebody make a motion to accept it?
Ian, I accept the motion as read.
Okay. Oh, do I have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay, very good. John, thank you. All in favor, raise your hand. So moved. Okay. Next item is Christie's subdivision.
So just as a follow-up to our site walk, again, that occurred on the 19th, I had some discussions with Jim Celio, the broker for the properties, and he requested a letter from the commission just outlining essentially the concerns and what the commission would like to see on applications as they come in the future so that he can then provide that to anyone who purchases the property. I did write up the letter and I think I included everyone's considerations, but I wanted to read it into the record and give the commission a chance to comment or add any further thoughts. So, dear Mr. Celio, after reviewing the Christie subdivision at a special meeting held March 19th, the Wetlands Commission determined that each lot could come back individually for reapproval as they are sold and updated site development plans are prepared. New plans should show wetlands as they were delineated during the subdivision of the property and should show the town's current upland review area from wetlands. Lots with no activity within the upland review area do not need to come back before the Wetlands Commission for further approval. The site plan for lots 1 and 2 should include the current conservation easement boundary as it is shown on the previously approved subdivision plan. The site plan for lots 2 and 3 should include the drainage swale as it is shown on the previously approved subdivision plan. Lot 1, which contains a wetlands crossing, must be brought back to the full commission for review and reapproval. The site plan for this lot should include the information listed above and additional information in the form of an engineering review of the proposed culverts in the driveway to ensure the size is in accordance with present day standards.
Isabel, only one, actually two comments. One, I would definitely reference the actual prior approval. Where you reference it like in words, just make sure it's very clear, like, you know, if it's approval 1, 2, 3, include that. And then also the only comment about the delineation of wetlands, I guess my only concern with that is as of if they were to submit it today, I completely agree with it. But this letter, you know, somebody's going to pull it out 20 years from now and say, I just sold the property. I don't need to delineate them.
Right.
So I don't know how we want to word that, but I just, given that this was submitted and approved 10 years ago and now we're seeing it again or whatever the date was, I think we should almost kind of future-proof it.
Okay.
That's my only recommendation.
Yeah, absolutely. I can change the wording a little bit because I agree with you. I want to make it clear that the wetlands as they were delineated should be shown on the plan, but I don't think that necessarily precludes potentially having that reassessed by a soil scientist.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I guess Isabel, you can make those changes and send it out.
Okay.
Okay. So we need the approval of the meeting minutes on our regular meeting minutes of March 7th, 2022. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve?
Okay, John, thank you. Do I hear a second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. Okay, so moved. And then the sidewalk minutes, March 19th, 2022. Do I hear a motion to approve those?
Again, motion to approve?
Okay, second. Okay, Ian, thank you. All in favor, raise your hands. Ron? Oh.
Can't see it.
I would,
That's your hand?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
higher.
Okay, so moved. Thank you. All right, audience of citizens. Oh, no. Yeah, I guess we have. Is there an audience of citizens? Anybody there yet, Isabel?
Not that I can see in the Zoom call.
Okay, very good. And any commission open discussion? Anybody want to discuss anything?
The only thing I'd
Alright.
like to mention
Sure.
is the submission for the boardwalk. I'd like to give him credit. I don't know how much discussions, Isabel, you had behind the scenes to get to the point that he's at, but that is a very low impact plan that he put forth. I think we would have seen somebody come in with a ton of gravel and just lay a road in. And it was kind of refreshing to see somebody, if they did come up with that, conceive of that plan on their own or borrow it from others, to come in front of the town. It was kind of refreshing, given what we typically see.
Yes, I agree with that. I think it's a great idea. Yep. Okay, very good. Any other, buddy? have
Yeah,
any-
I just have one quick question. This was in the packet and I'm not sure the cog maps, what they applied to, Isabel?
I believe that applies to John Marshall's application.
Oh, okay. That's enough. Okay.
Okay, last thing, any administrative reports you want to talk about, Isabel?
Yes, I have two that I've done since the last meeting. I did an administrative approval for Tim Hara of Greenscapes. I think I actually might have mentioned this in the last meeting. It might have been pending. To resurface an existing patio at 24 Lake Road. The patio currently is bluestone, that's not in good condition, and he's going to be resurfacing it with brick pavers. He may actually be using permeable pavers. We've had discussions about that. And that's, we're trying to set up a system in town to get those maintained and stay on top of that. So that's in progress right now. And I also did another administrative approval at 20 Colonial Drive for a Justin Peralt to replace the septic system. It's going largely in the same place that it currently is. The previous one, I believe, was in disrepair. And there's a drainage swale that essentially encircles the property. So I had him put up sediment and erosion control just to make sure that nothing leaves the site.
Very good.
Isabel, on the cleaning of the permeable pavers, is the town looking at how to clean permeable pavers on private property?
No, the town isn't looking
Oh,
to
good.
do the work themselves. They're not taking ownership. I apologize. We're looking at setting up a system to get homeowners to maintain those systems, because they are really beneficial when they work, but they require maintenance at least once a year. So we're trying to get that in progress of getting that certified.
I guess those little holes plug up once in a while, right?
Do, yeah, they're great, but they do have to be maintained.
There you have it.
Okay, very good. Okay, do I hear a motion to adjourn? We're all done, I guess.
Holy moly. Yay.
Mary, thank you. Second on that.
I'll second.
All right, all in
There's
favor?
one more basketball game tonight, so I got to be
That's
ready for it.
right. Okay.
Mary,
Okay,
what
in favor.
happened to the women?
Oh,
Look
yeah.
at me.
It looked like,
I'm mourning. I'm still in mourning.
yeah, it looked like they had it. They just weren't up to speed.
Bigger,
Oh.
better, stronger. Oh, okay.
Okay.
They did a
All
great.
right.
They had a great season.
Yep.
They had
Good
a
night,
great-
everybody.
Night,
We'll see you
everybody.
all.
John.
Okay,
Thank you.
have a good- Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Okay.